Welcome back. A funding freeze turning into a funding fight. The Trump administration has decided to freeze more than $2 billion in funding to Harvard University. It's because school leaders say that they will not comply with the president's demands to make changes, including eliminating the university's diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and banning masks worn to cover protesters' identities.
Along with the $2.2 billion, this decision would also freeze $60 million in multi-year contracts with the university. Harvard President Alan Garber said the university plans to challenge legally the White House, citing First Amendment and Title VII violations. Title VII makes it illegal to discriminate against people on the basis of race, color, religion, or sex. We want to bring in Queen City News Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes to break down this funding fight. Khalif, let's start here. What rights does Harvard have? Because it's a battle of what's protected by the First Amendment and what the White House says they constitutionally have a right to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that Harvard has the constitutional right, the First Amendment. I mean, that's the easiest one to go to. Your speech is not only protected for things that you say. We know in instances it's also what you wear. That's considered speech. But it's also access to your ability to get and retain speech, different types of speech. So as a student, you denying my ability to hear certain things would be a violation of my speech as a student. But as the institution, me being able to say and do the things that I want to do that aren't hateful, that aren't threatful, that aren't putting people in a position of fear, that have not manifest from a verbal portion to a physical manifestation. You have to take it back to the conversations that they had in Congress. These Ivy League presidents last year, where a number of them stepped down, they were asking them to do more things to protect students at that time, and they were frustrated, they as in Congress, during this hearing because there wasn't enough being done. And all three of their presidents said exactly what the law requires. They can't take any action against anyone if they're only speaking, and those things haven't manifested in some type of physical violence, because they are doing exactly what the law requires. And so now you're asked the question of what protection they have. First Amendment's to clear and the easiest one to point to. Nothing in this is talking about things that Harvard has a responsibility to do. What they are trying to do is mandate them to do things that fit into what the Trump administration requires them or would like them to do. They say this is something that is supposed to address anti-Semitic viewpoints, but most of this is about merit-based. It's about DEI. It's about things that the Trump administration has said since they started that they wanted to get rid of. I have it printed out. This is the letter that they sent them. Most of this talks about DEI stuff. There's only one portion in there that talks about anti-Semitic views, and even that is problematic because now they want them to create a list that shows all folks that have participated, both students and faculty, in any type of protest, which I also think would be against any type of rules that are out there for college governance. That's why Dr. Garber and his team rejected this letter wholeheartedly.
Well, so the Trump administration is saying, hey, we need you to stop doing these things. The school's like, yeah, we're not going to do that. So what legal standing does the administration have to say, okay, you're not going to do what we asked, so we're going to cut your funding?
I don't think they have a legal standing. They can attempt to do that, and then they picked the wrong one to try this one. And that's what I tell this administration. We're looking at the tariffs, right, that have happened recently. You've seen some countries that have tried to comply and have bowed down to the Trump administration's attempt to strong-arm them, because that's exactly what was occurring in that situation, except for China. China came back and said, you know what? No, we'll go tit for tat with you. You want to raise tariffs? We'll raise them. Well, Harvard's in the exact same position. Okay, you want to cut billions of funding? Well, we got $50 billion in our endowment, so you can do what you want. We don't need your money. Every school's not in that position. Harvard is. They'll raise the funds to cover the shortcoming in short time, while at the same time having enough money to sue you and get the money back that they're supposed to be getting anyway. Some other colleges won't be able to do that. You even saw that with Columbia. I think they were trying to figure out what to do. I think their endowment is nice size, but it's not the same as our Harvard's, and they are the biggest and the brightest in terms of what they have there. And so they said, all right, we'll wait, we'll challenge it. Once they challenge this, I think the First Amendment argument will be there. If you're attempting to take my funds for a viewpoint specific, you're saying you don't like what we're saying. And a lot of this is saying that. We want you to hire folks that are viewpoint diverse. Basically saying the people that you have now only have one specific viewpoint, and we don't agree with that. Well, that's now viewpoint specific. So that would be Harvard's original argument, that if you're telling me who I should hire and the types of people I should hire, and you're connecting it to my now removal of my funds, well, now the First Amendment would protect that as well.
Khalif, constitutionally, right, we know that Congress in some cases, and just looking at education as a whole, when Congress appropriates funds, right, there's a separation of powers there. Can the executive branch say, you know what, Congress, you've already appropriated funds, we're going to pull those back? that's kind of bleeding over lines, right?
I think that's also going to be problematic, while at the same time this administration is saying that the courts are trying to overstep their boundaries and forcing the executive branch to do things that they don't have power to do. I think the executive branch in this situation, while the president in the office itself has enormous power, I think the things that we're talking about today are for Congress. So if you're saying that Congress has already not just earmarked, but given these funds,
right.
There was a budget proposed, there were earmarked for this amount of things, and these awards have already been granted, and they're in the process of being sent out, and then all of a sudden you freeze them, not reject, not stop, but actually freeze funding that was already going there. Yeah, I think that is problematic. That is something that is the role of Congress and not of the executive. Now later, if you want to change the process, if you want to say now we don't want these folks to get access to these funds because they're not complying with this executive order, I think they can do that in the future. But current things that are already happening, where this is the back and forth of funds flowing to the institution, I think that is something where the court will say they don't have authority to do that. I think moving forward, they can clearly block them. What I also will say is folks have to remember, this isn't just isolated funds. These are funds that are going to cancer research. This is going to AIDS research. They are probably one of the largest research institutions in the world. So now you're saying you're going to take money from these people. It's going to have a secondary effect that's not just going to be on the campus of Harvard.
All right, Chief Legal Analyst Kali Frodes weighing in on that for us this morning. Thank you so much.